Hey guys, what's going on? Zero Mod here with the assault rifle build guide for Blacklight Retribution. This is my second set of builds for 2013, and kind of the main difference from this set and the previous set is now stocks, barrels, and grips affect your move spread. The more weight you have on those particular parts, the more move spread you're going to have. So that's the main difference. These builds should also be applicable for the PS4 version of Blacklight upon release. And before we get started, I'm going to talk about the scopes and the magazines in the beginning of the build guide videos, because those are mostly user preference anyways. So we're going to get those out of the way. For magazines, extended or quick reload are both good choices. It's pretty much the preference of, do you want to reload faster or do you want to have more ammo so you don't have to reload as frequently. And I prefer just the extra 10 bullets on the AR, so I go for the extended magazine. For scope, with the AR as it is right now, it's pretty much a Swiss Army knife. So it's kind of a jack of all trades. It's good for medium range, close quarters, long range, you name it, it can do it. So for the current meta of the game though, you're going to be really prevalent in close quarter combat. So you're going to have a lot of strafing, you're going to have a lot of hip fire. So you don't really have to worry about a close quarter types of scope as much. I prefer to go for a Cons Elotech, just so I can have something to kind of zoom in and take off people from a range. So that's kind of my choice. The Reflex 2 HOLO and the Elotech R6 are also good choices if you prefer something that's a little bit more medium range type for a scope. For this particular first build, we're going to go for a high damage build. It's 55 damage. So for a high damage weapon, your spread and your spread for your aim and your hip fire and your move spread and your recoil in general are just going to be shot. I mean, they're going to be high regardless. So for this build, I just kind of kept them both balanced. Like, I didn't have one be an extreme and the other one be a really low. Like, I didn't have really low spread or really high recoil, or really high recoil and really low spread. I just went for a balance of spread and recoil after prioritizing damage on my build for this first build. So we went with the ArmCom 2-step muzzle. For the muzzle, muzzles haven't been affected by the patch, so they should still behave the same as they have in the past. So if you have a muzzle you really like, chances are it's still just as good as it was in the past. For the barrels, since we're going for a high damage build, you would think it would go for an X3 Elite or the GX3 Heavy. Those are two of the consensus high damage builds in the past for barrels. But with move spread kind of being affected by weight now, it's pretty much a 0.3 to 0.4 gain in move spread from the Zenith to the X3 Elite and the GX3 Heavy. And that may not seem like much from just from those two or those three barrels in general, but if you look at some of the lower spread based barrels, you have ones that are around 3 to 4. So that's a huge jump, and just adding another 0.3 spread by going for the X3 Elite or the GX3 Heavy just makes it even worse. So the Zenith has low spread in general. You sacrifice a little bit of range and a little bit of spread, but they're negligible amounts, I feel, compared to the gain in or the loss in move spread that you have as a result. So the Zenith barrel is kind of my solution for a high damage barrel with good spread reduction across the board. For stocks, V2 Folding is pretty much in the stock. That's the consensus stock nowadays. It's a replacement for the collapsible stock. As you can see, you lose a little bit of control. You get a little bit more recoil on the V2 Folding, but you don't have ridiculous move spread. As you can see, both the collapsible and the sharp have about 1 to 1.7 points of move spread as a penalty, and that's just a ridiculous amount, and it does not, I don't think it justifies the gains you get for recoil and spread off of these stocks. So V2 Folding is kind of a safe choice for any type of weapon build you have that you need a good stock for low spread, and that's our choice for this build. Weapon tag, you got the damage tag. So for this second build, this build's more, I mean really it's a dark horse build. Like when I built it, I was like, this thing looks ugly, it's not going to shoot good, it's not going to handle well, but I mean really I definitely recommend you guys try this build out. It's pretty wicked, and pretty much it's a low recoil based build. It's not completely prioritized for recoil. You still have some optimizations in low spread, but for the most part we're gunning for recoil and spread. Most of these builds after the 55 high damage build, they're around 50 damage. The reasoning for that is the highest health you can have in game is 250. So if you have a 50 damage AR, then 5 shots is gonna kill someone with max armor or max health. And the extra points, the extra 2 to 3 points, you know, going for like a 53 damage AR, I don't think it's justifiable because you're not gonna really feel the effects of that unless you're going after someone that's damaged. So if you're just on a 1v1 scenario with a full health, it's pretty much perfectly safe to go with a 50 damage AR. 49 you can kind of cheat with and get away with because of the fact that most people don't build max health. They usually go around 245 to 230. So 5 hits, 49 damage, that's 245. We're safe on that regard. So muzzle, we got the RES6 barrel. We went with the Silverwood SW, which is a low damage barrel. And like I said, we were able to sacrifice some damage and still be relatively safe with it. But it has great move spread reductions across the board compared to some of the other barrels out there. So it's a good choice in general. And because barrel doesn't really affect recoil, you can kind of take your pick on what kind of a barrel you want. And then for stock, we went with the stabilized Redsand. It's a low recoil based stock, but you can also go for the ACP Mod 0. Another great choice. You gain a little bit of recoil, but you can see the benefits with the range and the spread across the board on that particular stock. For my third build, this is a low spread build. This is kind of one I've been tinkering with. I used to have, if you've seen some of my previous gameplays before this build guide, I used to go with the Krane KR Light. It's the same build. I just replaced the KR Light with the Vulcan BP-15. And the reason for that is, if you can look at it, like I said, damage is not really that much of a priority. So you gain 1 damage with the KR Light, and you lose spread off of that. So I just figured it was a great upgrade in that regard. So we went with the Vulcan BP-15. Muzzle, we got the ArmCom 2-step. And then stock, we got the V2 Folding CQC/B. So it's pretty much a low spread across the board based build. Pretty much full attention to lowering spread as much as possible. And spread, if you remember, is the basically the horizontal displacement of your bullets relative to the angle they come out of your gun when you shoot. So if you have trouble with your gun because it's like shooting sideways, then you want to lower spread, and this is basically the type of a build you're trying to go after to achieve that. And then my last build is a level 15 and below build, and this one's mostly a balanced build. You got 50 damage, and then similar to the 55 damage AR, it's pretty much both spread and recoil or balanced as much as possible to keep them both manageable. So we got the Hullbreach ZXI Nexus, which is probably the best low spread muzzle, level 15 and below. We got the Krane KR Light, and like I said before, you can go with the BP-15 if you want to. 49 damage, it doesn't really make a difference, so it's pretty much your preference for the damage. It doesn't make a difference, so you can go with the lower spread if you want to and sacrifice a point of damage if you feel it's necessary. And for the stock, we got the Krane COG, but like I said, the V2 Folding is also a great choice you can go with, and that's more of a low spread based stock. So kind of V2 Folding is completely low spread, and then you gain like about 3 points of recoil as a result. And then for the Krane COG, it keeps them both manageable. So that's kind of my reasoning for choosing that instead of the V2 Folding. But like I said, those are both great choices. So that pretty much concludes this build guide. Kind of just as a disclaimer before I end this video, this is more of a guide. This is guidance for you guys. Hopefully you guys find something that's useful and you pick up something that might help you out when you build your own weapon builds. But this isn't any consensus weapons. These aren't OP weapons that are pretty much used across the board by every player in the game. So keep that in mind. It's more of a learning tool, and hopefully you guys get something out of it. And as always, thanks for watching. Much appreciated.